had a complete turnaround. Before, when I told my husband I felt like a shell of myself, there came a point that he was like, babe, you're back. I'm like, I know. I'm
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Manuel. I am the co-host of Transform Table Talk alongside Dr. Maggie Yu. And today we have a great interview for you with Kris. Kris is a very busy mom, a homeschool mom of 3 children, and 2 of them have special needs. And in addition to that, she's also a massage therapist. So she was already stretched thin day to day. Well, after the birth of her 3rd child about 2.5 years ago, her energy level just completely vanished. So tired, she was having a hard time getting through the day. It was a struggle. She would take the kids to the park and she couldn't play with them. She couldn't function in her life. She was eventually diagnosed with hypothyroidism. And how that came about? Well, she had a 75-pound postpartum weight gain. Her hair was falling out. She was having extremely heavy menstrual bleeding to the point where she ended up in the ER, losing half of the blood volume in her body. Doctor said it was a very serious situation, except for the fact that she wasn't really getting help from the conventional medical world. She bounced around from her family doctor to her OB to an endocrinologist. Nothing was really helping long term, and certainly nothing was working to address the root cause of why all of this was happening. She had a friend who had recently gone through the Transform program, and that friend said, I know what you need to do. You need to get with Dr. Maggie, and she'll have your back on all of this. That's exactly what Kris did, and I can't wait for you to see the results that she had by working with Dr. Maggie in the Transform program. Kris, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Kris. I live in North Carolina. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3, a massage therapist, and a cranial sacral therapist as well.
People who don't know what that is, please describe that.
Cranial sacral therapy is a light touch massage modality that kind of focuses on emotional release, really releasing the head and neck to make sure that the cerebral spinal fluid is flowing freely through the body.
Okay, interesting. So busy. So you do homeschooling with 3 children and find time to be a massage therapist and do a specialized type of massage therapy as well.
Yes. I work from my studio's at home, so all things are happening at home.
Okay, and your children are ages 2.5, 7, and 9, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have really got your hands full. And I know you shared with me as well that 2 of them have special needs, right?
Yes, I've got 2 special needs kids. My daughter is autistic and my son has PANS.
Okay, and so they require perhaps more energy than a neurotypical child might require.
Yes.
So tell me then, it sounds like over the last 2.5 years since the birth of your 3rd child, your
Mhm.
health really took a nosedive. What's been going
Yeah.
on?
Postpartum, I just started having some issues, and I had been postpartum before, and just the fatigue felt different. I was gaining weight instead of losing weight. I was really irritable, so tired. And then when my menstruation started back, it was just insane. It was very, very heavy, and just having a lot of issues and sleeping, those types of things.
When you say heavy, this was abnormal for how your menstrual cycle was before.
Yeah, I'm talking heavy enough that I ended up in the ER with half the blood I should have in my body at one point. It was like my face was pale, I looked sickly, I had zero color in my lips, and it was very obvious that there were issues
Something
going.
was wrong. Something
Yeah.
was very wrong.
Hi, I'm Maggie UMD, and I'm a functional and holistic medicine physician and the creator of the Transform and Transform protocol. If you're interested in learning what are the root causes of all chronic disease, go ahead and click the link in the description where I have a power-packed 30-minute training that goes over what are the 5 pillars of Transform. Go ahead, click the link, and I'll see you in that training.
And
Yeah.
what were doctors telling you? What kind of help were you getting for that?
I went to my family doctor first, and they ran some blood work. Of course, they said, "Hey, your blood volume's low. Let's focus on that." I talked to them about my menstruation. They sent me to my OB. I went to my OB. They wanted to put me on birth control right away, and I'm kind of like a gut feeling person, and I just didn't feel good with that. I had struggled with infertility in the past, and I just worried that if I started the birth control, I was closing that chapter of my life, and I didn't want to I didn't want to do that yet, at least.
Not only that, but here you are introducing synthetic hormones into your system and wondering, what is this going to do? Is that really the answer to solving your obvious hormonal imbalance? No,
Yeah.
it sounds like you had a gut feeling that that wasn't the right approach.
Yeah. And so, from there, they put me on progesterone, just a lot of Band-Aids, if that makes sense, sent me to an endocrinologist. So then I went to the endocrinologist. That is when they first tested my thyroid. They put me on a thyroid med, and then
Okay, because your thyroid came back as you had a low thyroid.
yes.
Okay.
So they tested for antibodies. They said there's no antibodies. This is just,
Sure. They just
postpartum hypothyroidosis was like the diagnosis they gave me. They gave me a med. They sent me on my way.
And now you know that they tested
that's
you
so
for
silly.
antibodies, and they only tested you for this many
Yeah.
antibodies because that's
Yeah.
the only test they have commercially available. But
Right.
there are so many other targets of
Yeah.
autoimmune thyroid attack that could have been happening in your system, but your doctor never mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, and from taking the course, 100%, that's what was going on. So
It was very heavy bleeding and
yeah,
extreme fatigue. Oh, and the weight gain.
a lot
75
of
pounds?
75 pounds, and it was so disheartening. It was like, I'm already postpartum, so I'm already feeling vulnerable. And it was like every week I got on the scale, it was 2 or 3 pounds up, 2 or 3 pounds up, 2 or 3 pounds up without me changing anything. And it messed with me kind of mentally and emotionally a
Yes.
little bit. And
That'll take a hit on your self-esteem. And then not only that, but what was going on with your hair?
my hair started falling out. My hair has stopped falling out now, but I'm at like a third of the thickness that I used to have.
How are you feeling at this point, getting kind of bounced around to doctors and, like you said, getting Band-Aid fixes that weren't really helping you long term?
I was really, really frustrated. From the program, you learn about hormonally vulnerable times. I was in a very hormonally vulnerable time. So just tons of stress. I'm not proud of it, but my irritability was at all-time high. My self-esteem took a hit, and I just felt like every day was a struggle. Like, I think back now, it makes me emotional because, when you're a mom and a wife, your family is your everything. And here I was just even struggling to take care of the people that mean the most to me in my small sphere. I felt like my sphere of what I could handle was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'm a fairly independent person. So that was, really disheartening. It really took a toll on me emotionally. I at one point I told my husband, I'm like, I feel like I'm a shell of the woman you married. And it broke his heart, but it's honestly how I felt. I'm like, I'm not keeping up. I'm not as chipper. I kind of felt like parts of my sense of humor kind of disappeared. Plus I was tired and gained weight, and it's all the things. So yeah.
The essence of Kris, you were seeing it slip away.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the fatigue?
I was probably bouncing around a 6 to 8 very regularly, especially really dragging in the mornings. Getting out of bed initially was really, really hard. I learned from the program that I had stage 2 adrenal fatigue. So it was all of the pieces started making, sense as I went through the program. But it was really a struggle just to make it from day to day. It was all I could do to pull through the day to just, drop into bed at night.
You at what point then said, I have to do something about this? I have to find help. How did that come about for you?
It was super frustrating because I felt like I was trying. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going to doctors, I'm asking, and they're just telling me, oh, it takes time. Oh, it takes time. And I'm like, and I would get little glimmers of like things that would help a little bit initially, but nothing was just like, nothing was really doing it. And then everything kind of came to a culmination with that emergency room visit that I told you about. I had actually called a friend. She's been through the program. I knew she had had some health challenges. I was kind of at my wit's end, and I'm a religious person, so I was just praying I was praying for help, and I was just like, I just need some help here. Then she directed me to this program after that. She was the one who started me like right away on like the vitamin D,
Mm.
all the things that I was so deficient in.
It's so good. The Transform alumni are a fierce bunch of people because they've
They're
seen,
out there doing the work.
yes, they've
Yeah.
seen the changes in their own life, and they have seen how it's been such a benefit to them, their loved ones, and everybody else that they went through the program with. So
Yeah.
you were very lucky to have encountered somebody in your life who had previously been through the Transform program and worked with Dr. Maggie to get her health back, and now was helping you. And so that's when you started yourself looking into working with Dr. Maggie.
Yeah, so I went back to my doctor and they still didn't do anything. They didn't do anything for me. They're not helping me. I need to actually find answers. I need to find health. And she was the one that helped me sign up for the hormonal health class.
Okay, so you first started with the My Hormone Masterclass,
Yes.
and I'm curious, what did you learn about your hormones?
It was eye-opening right away, because I sent in my test kit and it came back immediately. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was like light bulb after light bulb after light bulb of I have been struggling with this for years and it's not even been on anybody's radar, which is crazy because I had been to doctor after doctor after doctor and just the testing was completely different and there were immediate answers. Like I wasn't feeling like I was pulling somebody's teeth to try to get them to help me. I was finding answer after answer in the modules.
What did you learn about your
Oh,
hormones?
I learned that I've had PCOS probably my whole life. Not
Okay,
probably.
so
Yeah, so that was the
polycystic
first.
ovary syndrome, and
Yeah,
this is something that once you started reading about that and figuring it out, all of the pieces fell into line. You're like,
yeah,
wow, but
yeah.
yet no doctor previously could ever diagnose me with this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and they had tested my hormones before and told me that I wasn't PCOS because I have a history of miscarriage and infertility. Plus, I was extremely estrogen dominant, like
Okay.
way estrogen dominant with the PCOS. So it's just like a lot of things in my past and the past with my health have just started to make sense. And as soon as I worked through all the modules in the hormone masterclass, I was like, I need more. I know there's more answers for me. And so that's when I transitioned into the Transform program where I found even more answers to my health.
Even more answers.
Mhm.
Okay. Before we get into any more about that, I want to hear, how are you doing with the fatigue now? Because you were on a scale of 1 to 10, bouncing around between a 6 to an 8. How would you rate that level of fatigue now?
Oh, I'm back to a 1 or a 2, and my motor's back. Yeah, I've had a complete turnaround. Like I said before, when I told my husband I felt like a shell of myself, there came a point that he was like, "Babe, you're back." I'm like, "I know." I was driving in the car with my kids, and music is really big for my daughter, so we were just bopping along to a song, and all of a sudden I just felt a wave of just my happiness came back. And if you've ever gone a period of time where you're not feeling your positive emotions, it's such a stark contrast. And I just got hit with a wave of it. And I even just put my hands on my heart and I just kept breathing it in because I could feel it. I could feel it. And, it made me emotional at the time. I was like, they were for sure happy tears, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can feel again.
And this is only about a month, just over a month into the program that you
Yeah, it was
felt
like,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like a
How
month and a
quickly
half.
should you start to feel your energy come back?
When I started the vitamin D in the hormonal masterclass, I did start to feel a turnaround just getting the D and
Within a couple weeks?
yeah, probably 2 or 3 weeks. But then when I hit the program, it just like rocketed everything else. You know what I mean? Like it was like those base things were already starting to help me get that way. But then it was like once I got, because one of my big things was I wasn't digesting protein very well, so I was avoiding it. So, my blood sugar had to have been all over the place without getting all the components that you need for that. So, yeah,
Doctor previously talked to you about the importance of blood sugar or addressing your liver health?
never,
No.
never, nobody had ever talked to me about that.
I want
Yeah.
to hear about your menstrual cycles because you had mentioned the heavy blood loss, even sending you as far as to go to the ER, culminating in like losing half the volume of your blood. Is that what you were saying to me?
Yeah.
So where do we stand now with the heavy bleeding?
Every cycle has just gotten progressively better and better and better.
Congratulations to that, because talk about regaining your life back.
Yeah, being able to leave the house and go to therapies and just do the mom things that you need to do, being able to grocery shop without having an emergency plan, tucked in the back of your brain, or it's like all the things that you think about. It's like, even that is just like mental fatigue and raises cortisol levels, but you know what I mean?
Tell me about going to the park with your kids. Were you able to easily do that when you were feeling so exhausted before?
I would take my kids, but I was for sure for sure sitting on the sidelines. And I had taken my kids to the park one day, and I didn't even realize it until my son pointed it out. But my 7-year-old came up to me, and he just put his hands on my cheeks, and he was like, "Mom, I like it because you don't sit anymore." And I was just
I
like,
like
"Oh,
it, Mom, that you're not sitting anymore.
yeah." So
You're
it was,
engaged in playing.
it's impacting your kids, but to see how much that meant to him, that I wasn't sitting on the sidelines at the park.
I'm curious, have you been able to implement anything that you've learned in the program with your children?
Absolutely. It's been life changing. Like, I get really excited about my changes, but I get really emotional about my kids' changes. So I'm sorry, but they just make me emotional just to see. So I've obviously implemented a lot of my family's eaten in a new way and just figuring out the blood sugar balancing pieces for my kids. I started implementing some of the digestion support immediately for them. My son used to have so many food aversions, like,
And this is your child who has PANS, correct? And
yeah,
PANS is an acronym that stands for Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Disorders
yeah,
associated with strep typically, but it
yeah,
could be other viruses as
yeah,
well. And so
yeah.
oftentimes after one of those viruses, the child will start exhibiting very different behaviors, right?
Yeah, and for my son, it manifested in really high anxiety levels. He has some pretty bad neurological tics. All the other things that come along with neurological issues, just some mood instability and poor sleep and things of that nature. Like, it's acute onset, right? So things for him kind of changed overnight. But I didn't realize how. I knew he was thin and underweight, but I didn't realize how starved his body actually was. Because when your kid is eating, he eats a lot, but he was just really picky with his eating. We started supporting his digestion, and I so desperately needed to lose weight. He so desperately needed to put weight on, and he immediately started gaining weight. He's now up 9 pounds, which is really
Wow.
huge. It's
And
really,
not only sounds like is he up 9 pounds, but it sounds like he's absorbing his nutrients that he so
yeah.
desperately needed.
Yeah. I mean, not only has he put on weight, but we've had really big gains in other areas. His ticks are probably at 50% of what they used to be. Like
Really?
50%. But his biggest gain yet, my son couldn't read. I mean, we only had probably about 50% of the letters recognized, not really getting like the sounds. And within 3 months, like, my son is reading. It was an immediate turnaround. Well, I mean, we also put him on the MCT8 oil. So I think his little brain and his ability to focus were just so starved that,
He's getting the healthy fats now, you're saying
yeah,
that the oil.
yeah, for sure. He probably wasn't breaking them down before. I could not get him to eat vegetables at all, but just supporting his digestion.
And
I
he
think he
went from not being able to read to now he's reading?
to reading. He can read. Like, I just sent a video. It's like a 2-minute video clip that I sent in 3 months. I know it makes me emotional. Like, in 3 months, and it was literally within like 3 or 4 months or 3 or 4 days of supporting his digestion. I noticed better focus. I noticed that the ticks were going down. So it was really immediate with him just getting his digestion supported. Like I said, I homeschool, but I'm not at this by myself. I've got a whole smorgasbord of people helping me, and to just have therapist after therapist be like, what are you doing? He's doing amazing. Like, what are you doing? It's just like, just big changes. Not little, but huge.
Amazing.
huge changes, yeah.
Amazing. It's incredible to think about the trajectory of your family's life now that you know better and you can do better.
And when you have kids that struggle,
Oh.
sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but when you have kids that struggle and they get breakthroughs, like when everything is hard for them, like everything is hard. And when you finally get that breakthrough, it's like, it's huge. And you share it with people and they may not fully understand unless they've walked that road, but it's everything. It's absolutely everything to me.
I know. I get it. I really get it. And Dr. Maggie will get it too. She had a son who had some special needs as well. Curious about the hair loss because you said the hair was just kind of coming out probably in huge chunks, right? Where do
Yeah,
we
I would just cry. I would just cry when I was in the shower. I'd always just like dread washing my hair because it was so much coming out. My hair loss has pretty much stopped.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's huge, huge, huge. I haven't had tons of regrowth yet, but I know as I'm fixing some of my nutritional deficiencies and stuff like that it'll come up.
Okay, and we have to talk about the weight gain. What's happened to your weight since being in the program?
So, like I said, postpartum, it was like 2 or 3 pounds every week. I kind of plateaued out at 75 pounds, but then it was just lingering. And I went so I put on 75 pounds in probably like 8 months
Wow.
and didn't see the scale budge after that. Now knowing what I know, it was really silly because, I was skipping meals, to try to make up for, whatever, which of course was making my blood sugar worse. I
Totally.
don't know, but anyway, so I started implementing all this stuff with the blood sugar. I was actually eating more than I had in a long time, and it it hasn't flown off, but I'm down 25 pounds.
Okay, that's significant though.
It's really exciting, yeah.
Going up and now we've lost, 25 pounds. A third
Yeah.
of the weight gain is gone.
Yeah, and honestly, I would even keep the extra weight for how good I feel, but it is a huge plus that it's coming off. I mean, 25 pounds is a lot. If I'm, feeling discouraged that it's not coming off as fast as I would like, I just go pick up a 25-pound weight. And
And you're like, I lost that.
This is a lot. This is actually a lot of weight.
Well, and not only that, but this launches you into a year of a health turnaround by going through this program. Yeah. You've been only on the program for 1 month.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of improvement yet to come in your health and in your life. What do you really think it was? I mean, you mentioned blood sugar and hydration and balancing your hormones. How did this all kind of come together? And was there anything else?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that this program offered was for the first time, somebody took a comprehensive look at me. It was like, I was going to my family doctor, they were checking one thing. I was going to my OB, they're checking another thing. You're going to the endocrinologist, they're checking another thing. And this was just like the whole pie. You know what I mean? It was like finally, so that was the first just huge piece. Okay, everybody, like somebody is taking a look at all of the moving parts.
And it's the 5 pillars, it sounds like, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so that was the first huge part. As far as like implementation, for me, the biggest pieces were for sure the blood sugar balancing, supporting my liver, and the hormone piece, like figuring out what my hormone imbalances actually were so that I could address them head on. I had been struggling with an autoimmune attack against my thyroid, so I had like no no hormones except for my testosterone was through the roof. So
and by the way, your endocrinologist said you did not have that.
Yeah,
you did not have an autoimmune attack.
I was like, how did we miss this?
And it's so frustrating, and you can't almost blame the endocrinologist because they just aren't trained. They are not trained in helping people in this way.
Yeah, well, and they don't even look at the sex hormones. He was only looking at my thyroid hormone, so that if that's the only piece he's worried about. Plus, he told me I wasn't having an autoimmune attack, which I was. So when I had my hormone follow-up, it was like my thyroid had been addressed. I came back on and like all my hormones were back up on the follow-up, even a little to excess, which, Dr. Maggie explains that sometimes that pendulum's got to, swing back the other way. But I can say an abundance of hormones feels a whole lot better than none.
Than no hormones. Okay. Yeah. So you were able to, after you got the hormones retested, after about a 3-month period?
It was 2.5.
So the
I
fact
also
that
jumped into.
in 2.5 months, they were
Yeah.
able to so dramatically change.
Oh yeah, I was back online. So it was, yeah.
Online. And now when you get retested in another about 2 months from now, I bet you're excited to see this.
I am really excited, but I mean, just even seeing seeing the dramatic difference, not just feeling better in myself, you know what I mean, but being able to
See the
see
data.
the data that yes, you actually do feel better for a reason.
And that's what's so exciting too is this is focusing on your personalized data. This isn't a program that's just giving you general guidelines of things to follow. No,
Yeah.
we're looking at your labs and she's giving you specific recommendations for
Yeah.
Kris, which might
Yeah.
be different than somebody else that's in the program with you.
Yeah.
That's really helpful to get that personalized treatment and get a plan and
Yeah.
executing that plan. It sounds like beautifully.
Yes. Yes.
If somebody out there is watching this and they're like, okay, would this help me? What would you say to somebody who's watching this and maybe struggling with some of the same symptoms that you were struggling with?
Don't hesitate because you're worth it. And it's like Dr. Maggie told me, even if you just give, this is a 10% that you can give yourself that is going to just pay you back 100-fold if you'll just pour in that 10% into yourself.
Amazing. Amazing. Great advice, Kris. Thank you for being generous with sharing your story. I'm sure it is going to reach somebody else. I'm sure it's going to awaken in them that they can take care of themselves too. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me. It's definitely going to be helpful to other people. So thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
It's so special to hear not only how Kris's life has changed and totally turned around, but this has impacted her family in such a dramatic way. I know as a mom, and there's so many moms and parents out there watching, you want the best for your kids. And if there's anything you can do for a child who is struggling in some way, you're going to do it. And you're going to research all of the ways to try to figure out how to help your child. But a lot of times it can be tricky. So for Kris to have found something that is already helping her children in such dramatic fashion, there's just no better feeling as a parent. And her own life has changed in such a way that she can now be the mom that she wants to be. She can be the wife that she wants to be. And what she said is, she's back. She has her life back. If you are struggling or you know somebody who is struggling with any of the issues that Kris was dealing with, fatigue, hair loss, heavy menstrual bleeding, weight gain, or weight changes in some way, or like she said, if you're just struggling with anything in your health and you think that you would like somebody to support you from a whole body approach, if you'd like more information from the Transform team, just leave a comment above or below this video. There should be information on ways to get in touch. And do so. Help yourself. Give that 10%, like she mentioned, that 10% of self-care to yourself, and we'll see how it can help you. I'm Anna Manuel. On behalf of Dr. Maggie, you and the whole Transform team, thanks for watching.
Okay, Alec, we're going to read the story and answer some questions.
A fish ate a rock.
Great.
The fish
Try again.
said
What did it? What's it? Say it fast.
said
Great.
quotation marks.
That is a quotation mark.
I ate a rock.
What did the fish eat?
Rock.
Hi, and thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in actively looking for a solution to your problem and you'd like to work with us, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and click the link in the description to book a chat with our team. I and my team look forward to talking to you to learn more about you to see if we are indeed a good fit to work together. Thank you.